What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex here, and you're watching the Ragin Nation show. This is just the web series where we talk about all things matter me in the world of upcoming films. In this episode, there's a bit of a running theme here, and that theme is sequels that have been put on hold by the studios. And those sequels are Mad Max Fury Road, Terminator Genisys, Pacific Rim Maelstrom, and also the 8th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, I'm sure some of you guys already know that there have been some ongoing discussions about the status of these sequels. Well, now we have some more up-to-date information about the future of those franchises. Let's first start off by talking about Mad Max Fury Road and its sequels. Yes, I said sequels as in plural because George Miller, the director for Mad Max Fury Road, just recently confirmed that there are 2 sequels in early stages of development over at Warner Brothers Studios. Now that is great news because I loved Mad Max Fury Road and I want to see where the story takes us. And apparently those 2 scripts are complete, one of which is titled Wasteland, and he doesn't know which script he's going to use. It is still a follow-up to the previous film, but those scripts that he has are actually standalone stories. But it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it does follow the continuing adventures of the title character, Max, which will be played by Tom Hardy. After all, he is signed on for 3 films. Now, before they start development of another Mad Max film, George Miller did say that he wanted to work on a smaller film. After all, Mad Max Fury Road was a grueling 8 months shoot in the desert. So I don't think he wants to jump right away into a big budget film just yet. He wants to work on something smaller, and then maybe he'll work on another film, and then maybe he'll work on the sequels. So that is what is happening. It's at least good to know that there is a confirmation that George Miller is in talks with Warner Brothers Pictures to continue the franchise. So that is great. So moving on, let's talk about Terminator Genisys and the future of the franchise, because originally the plan was to have Terminator Genisys 2 and 3 shot back to back so they can be released in summer of 2017 and summer of 2018, thus completing the trilogy. All right? But that so far is no longer the plan anymore. Now, it didn't make a whole lot of money domestically. $89 million in North America. Doesn't seem like North Americans really care that much about the reboot. But overseas, it did quite well, actually. I was surprised at how well it did. As a matter of fact, in China alone, it generated a little bit over $110 million. And let me just read what a representative over at Skydance Productions had to say. Genisys did well overseas, especially in China, where it grossed $112 million. But the $150 million plus movie still will lose money. And sources say the notion of a Terminator universe is on hold indefinitely. So you heard it right here. There are no plans to work on the sequels for Terminator Genisys. And I guess that is unfortunate for the fans. But it looks like that there's not that much interest in this reboot. It's unfortunate, but it looks like they really took the franchise in the wrong direction, perhaps. But I mean, after all, it did generate only $90 million domestically, and then it did $440 million globally. But that's still not enough. They were hoping that it would break $500 million, but it didn't. So that's not happening anymore. Now, the crazy part about this is that if they don't make those sequels by the time 2018 comes around, the rights to the Terminator franchise actually revert back to James Cameron in 2019. So, what is going to happen? I don't know, but I'm sure that Skydance Productions wants to put out at least one more chance at it. They want to have one more chance to make another film in this franchise so that they can extend the rights, the contract to have the rights. Otherwise, it's going back to James Cameron, which is kind of what I want to happen. I want it to go back to James Cameron, and even though if James Cameron doesn't do anything with it, I'm fine with that. Because I didn't think Terminator Genisys was that great to begin with. But anyways, As I've mentioned, Terminator Genesis, or rather the sequels, is on indefinite hold. Another film that was mentioned to be on an indefinite hold was Pacific Rim Maelstrom. Actually, what had happened is that Legendary Pictures has now taken off Pacific Rim Maelstrom off of its 2017 calendar. Originally, it was supposed to be released in summer of 2017. They have now taken it off the calendar, and then it doesn't have an actual release date. But like I said in a previous report, director Guillermo del Toro is still working hard at it. And even though they say it's on hold indefinitely, it doesn't mean that it's not being made. As a matter of fact, there is some good news about the future of this franchise because it is still going to get made. And we have a representative from Legendary, and they made an official statement. So let me just read this for you. Legendary's Pacific Rim 2, originally scheduled for release on August 4th, 2017, will be redated at a later time. The filmmakers, Legendary and Universal Pictures, are committed to having Pacific Rim 2, the sequel to 2013's Pacific Rim, which generated more than $411 million at the global box office, be the vanguard, fully immersive experience that the franchise deserves. To this end, the decision was made to delay the production and release of Pacific Rim so that the creative team continue its efforts to exceed the amazing experience of the first film. So, what that means is that they're still working on it. They don't want to rush into production. They took it off the 2017 release date off of its calendar, and they're going to keep, and Guillermo del Toro is going to keep on working on it, which he's doing right now. And I'm pretty sure sometime next year we're going to get an official announcement as to when they're going to actually start filming. If Guillermo del Toro was originally going to start filming in Toronto in November, that means that I'm pretty sure that after he's done his tweaks, then they could start filming sometime next year if the studios agree to it. So, I think it's safe to keep your hopes up because Pacific Rim Maelstrom is happening. All right? Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is the future of the Fast and Furious franchise. And this status update was actually taken off of Vin Diesel himself, because there has been a lot of discussion about the future of what is going to happen. And all I know is that Kurt Russell's going to be back. I'm pretty sure most of the cast is going to be back. They currently have no director, and it will be filmed in New York. Originally, it was slated for a 2017 release. Doesn't look like that's happening anymore, mainly because they've been still trying to look for a director. And Vin Diesel made a Facebook post, and he mentioned that him and Justin Lin were in talks about making the next 3 films into a trilogy that finishes the franchise. Okay? So that is the plan, to make 8, 9, and 10 a trilogy. And by trilogy, I mean that it's probably going to be 8, 9, and 10, it will be a large story that is connected with the 3 films. And then by the time they get to 10, it will be finished. And then while they don't have James Wan coming back to direct, they don't have Justin Lin coming back to direct, he mentioned that he would love to get Rob Cohen, the original director of the Fast and Furious franchise. He directed Fast and the Furious back in, I think, 2000, 2001. But anyways, he wants him back. That's a bit of a long shot, okay? I don't think that Rob Cohen will be back. I would love to see him back, but I don't think that's going to happen. He also mentioned the possibility of him directing it himself, but I don't think that's going to happen either, okay? So what's going on right now is some rumors, and that is the rumor of who is going to be directing the Fast and Furious, the next Fast and Furious film. Okay, not all 3 of the films, 8, 9, and 10, just 8. And right now, the lineup includes Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray, Now You See Me's Louis Leterrier, The Signal's Will Eubank, and also the guests Adam Wingard. Now, I've never seen The Signal or The Guest, but I have seen Now You See Me and also other films from Louis Leterrier. And but I actually would prefer if F. Gary Gray directed. He directed the awesome Straight Outta Compton, and I think he's fully capable of directing the 8th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise, because he can handle films with a large cast, as he's done that with Straight Outta Compton. And not only that, he's no stranger to action and cars, because he directed The Italian Job, which also has an all-star cast and also was a great film. So I would love to see F. Gary Gray take on the helm of the 8th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. He's only rumored, but right now I'll tell you that Universal is on a roll right now. I mean, they made quite a bunch of successful films, and Fast and Furious 7 was one of those successful films. Straight Outta Compton was a successful film. I'm pretty positive that Universal Pictures is going to be knocking on the door of F. Gary Gray to tell him to tackle the next installment. And I would love for that to happen. I don't think Rob Cohen's going to be directing it. I don't think Vin Diesel's going to be directing it. James Wan and Justin Lin politely declined the offer. But I think that it's time for some new blood, and hopefully F. Gary Gray will be that director. And also keep in mind that it is going to be a trilogy, and number 10 will end it all. The franchise will be complete at lucky number 10, and then there you have it. It will be done. So, Fast and Furious 8 currently has no release date. After all, they are missing that vital key to creating the story. Pacific Rim Maelstrom, Terminator Genesis, a sequel, as well as the Mad Max Fury Road sequel do not have dates yet. But out of all of them, at least they're still in development, except for Terminator Genesis. Terminator Genesis currently has no place in Skydance Productions' slate. They're probably thinking about what they're gonna do with the rights. Either give it back to James Cameron, or just sit on it and then do nothing, or maybe make another half-assed sequel. I don't know, but that's all I gotta say in this video. It's been pretty interesting seeing how these sequels go into further stages of development, and it's really interesting to see how the studios work and how they see these films as a success. And so that is why we're getting sequels, and that is why we're also not getting sequels. So there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. Why don't you guys comment on anything that I've talked about? Mad Max sequel, Terminator Genesis put on hold, or rather the sequel put on hold, Pacific Rim Maelstrom is still happening, and also Fast and Furious 8. Who would you like to see direct Fast and Furious 8? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name's Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Okay, I want to see what does he have to do to I guess sustain his life for as long as possible, and also